I was 23 when the drunk driver ran the red light. The impact shattered my left leg in 4 places, cracked 3 ribs, and gave me a traumatic brain injury that took 8 months of rehabilitation to overcome. The settlement came through 2 years later, $200,000 after legal fees. It was supposed to cover my medical bills, the student loans I'd defaulted on while recovering, and give me a fresh start. Instead, it funded my brother Derek's destination wedding in the Maldives. The day the settlement cleared, I was still using a cane. My physical therapist had warned me that I'd need at least 2 more surgeries to regain full mobility. My medical bills had already hit $87,000, and the hospital was threatening to send my account to collections. I'd been living in a studio apartment above a laundromat, working part-time data entry from home because I couldn't stand for more than 3 hours without my leg swelling. Mom called me that Tuesday morning. "Emily, we need to talk about your settlement money." I should have known right then. Mom only used my full name when she wanted something. "I just got the transfer notification," I said, watching the number appear in my bank account. $200,000. It felt surreal. "I'm meeting with the hospital billing department tomorrow to set up a payment plan." "That's what I'm calling about." Her voice had that edge. The same tone she'd used when explaining why Derek got to go to private school while I attended public. Why Derek got the car for his 16th birthday while I took the bus. Why Derek's college was fully funded while I worked 3 jobs. Derek and Amanda's wedding is in 6 weeks. My stomach dropped. "Mom, no. They've already put down deposits. The venue in the Maldives, the photographer flying in from Paris, the designer dress. It's going to be the wedding of the year. Everyone from the country club will be there. That has nothing to do with my settlement money." "Emily, don't be selfish." Mom's voice sharpened. "This is your brother's special day. He's marrying Amanda Preston. Her father owns Preston Commercial Real Estate. This wedding is important for our family's reputation." "Mom, I have $87,000 in medical bills. I need 2 more surgeries. I defaulted on my student loans. I'm barely surviving. Medical bills can wait. You're young. You'll heal. But Derek only gets married once." She paused. "We've already told Amanda's family that we're covering the wedding costs. If we back out now, it'll be humiliating. The Prestons will think we're poor." "We are helping," I said carefully. "You and Dad. This is my money. From my accident. For my medical care. Which our insurance already covered most of. Mom, I'm still paying off the deductible and the out-of-network specialists and the—" "Emily Chin, you will not embarrass this family. Your brother has a real future ahead of him. He's going to be a partner at his firm. He needs the right connections. The right wife. This wedding opens doors. And what about my future? Your future is being part of this family. Sometimes that means sacrifice." The next call came from Dad. Then Derek. Then even Amanda's mother, who I'd met exactly twice, explaining how disappointed everyone would be if financial issues ruined their perfect day. I was still on pain medication. Still recovering. Still trying to figure out how to rebuild my life from scratch. The pressure was suffocating. When Derek showed up at my apartment, I was sitting on my second-hand couch with ice on my leg after a physical therapy session that had left me in tears. "Hey, Em." He let himself in without knocking. He'd always done that. Treated my space like an extension of his. "Mom said you're being difficult about the wedding money." "It's not wedding money, Derek. It's my settlement. From the accident that nearly killed me." He sat down in my one decent chair, the one I'd found on the curb, and reupholstered myself. He was wearing a suit that cost more than my entire month's rent. "Come on. Don't be dramatic. You're fine now." "I'm not fine. I need more surgeries. I have medical debt. I have student loans in default. I lost my job. I lost 2 years of my life. And I'm sorry about that. Really. But this wedding is happening in 6 weeks. All the deposits are down. If we cancel now, we lose everything. Amanda's family already thinks we're—" He gestured vaguely. "You know. Poor. Less established. Her dad's company could send major contracts to my firm. This isn't just about a wedding. It's about positioning. Strategy. The future. My future." Derek leaned forward. "Emily, be realistic. You're 25. You dropped out of college. You're disabled now. What kind of future are you really going to have? This money could change my life. Could change our whole family's status. You'd finally be contributing something meaningful. The words hit like a physical blow. Contributing something meaningful. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? He stood up, straightening his tie. Mom's transferring the money tomorrow. The wedding planner needs half up front. Just let it go, okay? For once, think about someone other than yourself. That night, I logged into my bank account and saw the transfer pending. $200,000 to my mother's account. She'd had access since I was 18, when she'd insisted on being a co-signer in case of emergencies. I called the bank. I need to stop a transfer. I'm sorry, ma'am. That transfer was authorized by the primary account holder earlier today. It's already processing. The primary holder? I'm the primary holder. Pause. According to our records, Margaret Chin is the primary account holder. You're listed as secondary. All these years, I'd thought it was my account with her as backup. It had been her account with me as an afterthought. The money was gone by morning. Derek's wedding was everything Mom had promised. I saw the photos on social media. The overwater bungalows. The designer dress. The ice sculpture. The celebrity DJ. Amanda's father giving a speech about family and tradition and the importance of starting married life with solid foundations and generous support. I wasn't invited. Mom said it would be awkward, given my attitude about the money. I spent that weekend in my studio apartment, staring at the hospital bills spread across my floor. $87,000 in red ink. Payment plans I couldn't afford. Surgeries I couldn't schedule. A future that felt like it had been stolen along with my settlement. That's when something shifted inside me. I'd been working part-time data entry for a medical research company, processing clinical trial results. Mindless work that I could do from my couch with my leg elevated. But I'd noticed something. The data was chaotic. Unorganized. Researchers were wasting hours trying to find specific patient outcomes across multiple spreadsheets. The system was archaic. I'd been building a better one in my spare time. Just for myself at first. A database that could cross-reference symptoms, treatments, outcomes, demographic data. Something intuitive, fast, comprehensive. Now I had nothing left to lose. I took that database and reached out to Dr. Sarah Martinez, the lead researcher I'd been processing data for. I built something that might help your team. Can I show you? She gave me 15 minutes. I showed her how her team could cut their data processing time from 20 hours a week to 2. How they could identify patterns they'd been missing. How they could generate reports in seconds instead of days. How much? She asked. I'd never sold anything in my life. $5,000 for the license. And I'll customize it for your specific research needs. She wrote the check that day. I licensed the software to 3 more research teams in the next month. Then a hospital. Then a pharmaceutical company that paid me $50,000 for an enterprise version. I wasn't trying to build a company. I was just trying to survive. To pay my medical bills. To prove that Derek was wrong about my future. But the software kept selling. And I kept improving it. And suddenly I wasn't just surviving. I was building something real. I brought on a developer, then 2 more. We incorporated as MedData Solutions. I moved into a real office. We landed a contract with a major health insurance company. Then another. Then a hospital network. 18 months after Derek's wedding, we closed a series of funding round. $12 million. Venture capitalists who saw what I'd seen. That medical data was a disaster and whoever could organize it effectively would own the market. I still walked with a slight limp. Still had scars. Still had nightmares about the accident. But I also had a company. A product that was changing how medical research happened. 24 months after the wedding, we hit $28 million in revenue. Forbes ran a feature. From hospital bed to hospital system. How Emily Chin built MedData Solutions. 30 months after the wedding, we were valued at $95 million. I never called my family. Never sent the article. Never mentioned the company. They'd made it clear what they thought my future was worth. I didn't need their validation anymore. But the universe has a funny way of creating its own justice. The text came on a Tuesday morning, 3 years and 2 months after Derek's perfect wedding. Unknown number. Ms. Chin, this is Jennifer Morrison from Morrison & Associates. I represent Amanda Preston in her divorce from Derek Chin. We need to schedule your deposition regarding a $200,000 asset transfer that occurred prior to their marriage. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then the email arrived. Official legal letterhead. A subpoena requesting my testimony about the settlement money, the transfer, and whether Derek had disclosed the source of the wedding funds to his wife before marriage. I called Jennifer Morrison back. Miss Chin, thank you for responding so quickly. Her voice was professional crisp. I represent Amanda Prestonchen in her divorce proceedings. During asset discovery, we found that your brother funded their wedding with a $200,000 transfer from your mother's account. We have reason to believe this money was originally yours. Is that correct? Yes. And did Derek or your mother inform Amanda that this money came from your personal injury settlement? I don't know what they told her. But they took your settlement money without your consent? They had legal access to the account. My mother was the primary account holder. Pause. Miss Chin, I need to be frank with you. In California, any assets brought into a marriage under fraudulent pretenses can be considered community property. If Derek misrepresented the source of those funds to Amanda, she has a claim to half. But if those funds were stolen from you, you may have a claim as well. I'm not looking for revenge, Ms. Morrison. I'm not talking about revenge. I'm talking about justice. And about the fact that your brother has been telling everyone that Amanda is bleeding him dry in this divorce. That she's asking for half of his assets. That she's a gold digger who never appreciated his generosity. Something cold settled in my chest. But he funded their entire marriage with my money. Exactly. And Amanda had no idea. She thought Derek's family was wealthy. That the lavish wedding was a sign of his financial success. She's been discovering some very uncomfortable truths during this divorce, including the fact that Derek has been borrowing against their house to maintain a lifestyle he can't afford. He's $340,000 in debt. And you want me to testify that the wedding money was mine. I want you to tell the truth, under oath, about where that money came from and whether you gave permission for its use. I thought about Derek in my apartment. You'd finally be contributing something meaningful. Thought about Mom. Medical bills can wait. I thought about 3 years of silence. Of building myself back up from nothing. Of every condescending comment about my limited future. I'll testify, I said. When do you need me? The deposition was scheduled for 2 weeks later. The subpoena was served to Derek the next day. My phone exploded. Mom called first. Emily, what have you done? Derek is beside himself. His lawyer is demanding to know why you're helping that woman destroy your brother's life. I'm not helping anyone destroy anything. I'm testifying about my settlement money. That money is gone. It's been 3 years. You can't just what, Mom? Tell the truth? Explain where the money came from? Confirm that you transferred it without my permission while I was drowning in medical debt. We were helping Derek build his future. You were stealing mine. Dad called. Calmer, but the message was the same. This is family business, Emily. You don't air family business in court. It makes us all look bad. It makes you look bad because you did something bad. We gave Derek an opportunity. That's what parents do. You stole my settlement money while I was disabled and in debt. That's what you did. Derek's call came last. He was furious. You petty vindictive bitch. After everything this family has done for you. After we raised you, supported you, gave you a home. After you stole $200,000 that was meant to pay for my medical care after I was nearly killed. That support. That money changed my life. It was supposed to change mine, Derek. It was compensation for my injuries. My lost wages. My pain and suffering. And you used it to impress your in-laws at a wedding for a marriage that lasted less than 3 years. Amanda is taking me for everything. If you testify that the wedding money was yours, her lawyer will argue that I fraudulently induced her into marriage. Do you understand what that means? She could get the house, the cars, my retirement accounts. Sounds like she'd be getting what you owe her. I'm your brother. You were my brother when you took my money. You were my brother when you said I'd never have a meaningful future. You were my brother when you didn't invite me to the wedding my settlement paid for. My voice was steady. Come. I'm just telling the truth, Derek. Under oath. Like the court requires. You're doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because a lawyer subpoenaed me and I'm legally required to testify truthfully. That's how depositions work. He hung up. The next call came from Amanda's lawyer. Miss Chen, I wanted to give you advance notice. Derek's attorney is planning to argue that you're a disgruntled family member with a grudge. That you're exaggerating the circumstances of the money transfer. They're going to try to discredit you. Let them try. They're also going to ask about your current financial situation. They'll try to argue that you're doing fine now, so the $200,000 didn't matter. I smiled. I am doing fine now. May I ask how fine? I own a medical data software company valued at $95 million. We're profitable. We have 73 employees. We've been approached by 3 different companies about acquisition offers. A long silence. Miss Chen. Derek knows this. Derek hasn't spoken to me in 3 years. None of my family has. So they have no idea that you've built a company worth nearly $100 million? No idea at all. Another pause. Miss Chen, would you be comfortable if this information came up during your deposition? I have no reason to hide my success. Good. Because I think Derek's attorney is about to make a very serious strategic error. The deposition was held in a conference room in downtown San Francisco. Mahogany table. Leather chairs. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. Derek was there with his attorney Marcus Webb, a partner at some white shoe firm. Derek looked terrible. Thinner. Older. His suit was expensive but didn't fit quite right anymore. Amanda was there with Jennifer Morrison. Amanda looked different too. Tired. But there was a steel in her eyes that hadn't been there in the wedding photos. My mother had somehow gotten herself invited, sitting in the corner with her arms crossed. Dad was beside her. I walked in wearing a theory suit and carrying a Toomey briefcase. My hair was professionally styled. My limp was barely noticeable anymore, thanks to the surgery I'd finally been able to afford. I looked successful because I was successful. Derek did a double take. Mom's mouth actually fell open. Marcus Webb started the questioning. Standard stuff. Name, address, occupation. Occupation. I answered clearly. I'm the founder and CEO of MedData Solutions. Derek's head snapped up. What? Webb pressed on, ignoring him. And you're here to testify about a monetary transfer that occurred in March 2021? Yes. My personal injury settlement in the amount of $200,000 was transferred from my bank account to my mother's account, and subsequently used to fund Derek's wedding to Amanda. And you consented to this transfer? No. But the transfer was legal? The transfer was authorized by my mother, who was the primary account holder on what I believed was my personal account. I did not give permission. I was not consulted. I was informed after the fact that the money had been reallocated to Derek's wedding expenses. But you didn't pursue legal action at the time? I was 25 years old, disabled, in debt, and had just been told by my entire family that I was selfish for objecting. I had no resources to fight them. Webb leaned forward. Miss Chen, isn't it true that you hold a grudge against your brother? That you've been estranged from your family for 3 years? I've been absent from my family for 3 years. They chose not to invite me to the wedding my settlement paid for. They chose not to contact me afterward. I chose to focus on rebuilding my life. And you've done quite well for yourself, haven't you? Despite this alleged theft. Yes, I have. In fact, you're a successful businesswoman now. So this $200,000 in the grand scheme of things didn't really harm you, did it? I smiled. Would you like to know what I'm worth now? Webb paused. I'm sorry. You're suggesting that because I succeeded despite my family stealing my settlement, the theft didn't matter. I'm asking if you'd like to know my current net worth to better assess whether $200,000 matters. Derek's attorney glanced at Derek, who looked confused. Sure, Webb said carefully. What's your current net worth, Ms. Chen? My company, MedData Solutions, was valued at $95 million in our last funding round. I own 68% of the company. That's roughly $64.6 million. I also have personal assets of approximately $3.2 million. So my net worth is around $67.8 million. The room went dead silent. Derek's face went white. Mom made a strangled noise. Dad just stared. Amanda was fighting back a smile. Webb recovered first. See. And you built this company how? After my settlement was stolen, I had no money for medical bills. I was working part-time data entry for a medical research company while I recovered. I noticed their data management was inefficient. I built a database to solve the problem. It turned out to be something other researchers needed. I licensed it. Then I built a company around it. We now serve 47 hospitals, 12 pharmaceutical companies, and 4 major insurance providers. So the theft actually motivated you to succeed? The theft forced me to survive. I succeeded because I'm talented and worked incredibly hard. Derek told me I had no future because I was disabled and had dropped out of college. He was wrong. I built a future worth $67.8 million. He built a marriage that lasted less than 3 years on my $200,000. Webb tried to regroup. But you admit you've done well. Better than well. So why are you here, Ms. Chin? Why testify against your brother when you clearly don't need the money? I looked directly at Derek. Because Amanda deserves to know the truth. Because Derek has been portraying himself as the generous provider when he funded their entire wedding with money stolen from his disabled sister. Because I was subpoenaed and I don't commit perjury. And because someone should finally hold my brother accountable for his choices. Jennifer Morrison took over the questioning. Ms. Chin, when the settlement money was transferred, what was your financial situation? I had $87,000 in medical bills. I was in default on $43,000 in student loans. I was living in a studio apartment and working part-time because I couldn't stand for more than 3 hours. I needed 2 additional surgeries that I couldn't afford. The settlement was supposed to cover all of that and give me a fresh start. And what happened when the money was taken? I had to negotiate payment plans with the hospital that charged 18% interest. My credit was destroyed. I couldn't get the surgeries for another 2 years. I lived in chronic pain. I couldn't afford physical therapy. I survived on rice and canned soup because that's what I could afford. Did your family offer any assistance during this time? No. They didn't invite me to the wedding. They didn't call to check on me. They considered the matter closed. And Derek knew about your medical situation when he took the money? He came to my apartment the day before the transfer. I was sitting with ice on my leg after physical therapy. He saw the medical bills on my floor. He knew exactly what he was taking and what it would cost me. Amanda was crying now. Quiet tears running down her face. Derek's hands were shaking. Morrison continued. Ms. Chin, do you have any documentation of your medical expenses from that time period? I pulled out a folder. Hospital bills, surgery quotes, physical therapy invoices, defaulted loan notices, and the settlement agreement showing the money was specifically designated for medical expenses and rehabilitation. I slid it across the table. Webb didn't even look at it. He knew he'd lost. Morrison asked a few more questions establishing the timeline, the amounts, the family dynamics. Then she thanked me and ended the deposition. As I stood to leave, Derek finally spoke. Emily, I didn't know you'd built a company. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The golden child who'd had everything handed to him. Who'd taken the last thing I had. Who told me I had no future. You didn't know because you never asked. You took my money and disappeared. You made your choice 3 years ago, Derek. I made mine too. I needed that money to start my life with Amanda. You stole that money and started your life with a lie. Now you're ending your life with her in a divorce court. And she's discovering that everything you built was constructed on something that was never yours. That's not my fault. That's yours. Mom stood up. Emily, you're being cruel. He's your brother. He was my brother when he stole from me, Mom. You were my mother when you transferred my money without permission. You don't get to play the family card now. You broke this family 3 years ago. I walked out. 2 weeks later, Jennifer Morrison called me. Ms. Chin, I wanted to thank you. Your testimony was exactly what we needed. Derek's attorney tried to argue that the wedding expenses were a gift from his family. Your documentation proved it was stolen settlement money. The judge ruled that Derek fraudulently induced Amanda into marriage by misrepresenting his financial situation. What does that mean for Amanda? It means she's getting the house, the cars, and 60% of his retirement accounts. It also means Derek is responsible for paying back the $200,000 to you, with interest as part of the marital debt division. I was quiet for a moment. I don't want his money. With respect, Ms. Chin, you've already said you don't need it. But Amanda does. Derek's been hiding assets. Borrowing against their future. If you accept the judgment, it establishes the debt. That debt becomes part of what Amanda can claim. It's leverage. So by accepting the money, I help her? Exactly. Then I accept. There's one more thing. Amanda asked me to give you a message. She says she's sorry. He didn't know. She thought Derek's family was wealthy and generous. She thought the lavish wedding was a sign of how much they valued her. She had no idea it came from your suffering. Tell her I know. And tell her I hope she builds something better with what comes next. The settlement was finalized 6 weeks later. Derek had to sell the house to pay Amanda's share and the $200,000 judgment to me. He moved back in with our parents. Amanda started her own real estate consultancy. We had coffee once 3 months later. She was rebuilding just like I had. We weren't friends exactly, but we understood each other. Two women who'd been underestimated by the same man. I donated the $200,000 to a charitable fund that helps accident victims pay for medical care and rehabilitation when settlements fall through. It felt right. That money had been meant for healing. Let it heal someone else. My company hit $180 million in revenue the following year. We were acquired by a major health tech corporation for $340 million. I walked away with $231 million after taxes and employee payouts. I never called my family to tell them. But I did call my physical therapist, the one who'd worked with me when I couldn't afford to pay her. I wrote her a check for $100,000. For believing I'd walk again when no one else did. I called Dr. Martinez, who'd given me my first sale. I made her hospital's research department a $2 million donor. For seeing potential instead of disability. I called the lawyer who'd handled my settlement. I hired his firm to set up a foundation that provides legal services to injury victims whose families try to steal their settlements. It's more common than anyone wants to admit. 5 years after Derek's wedding, I saw him at a Starbucks. I almost didn't recognize him. He was in business casual, looking tired, ordering a regular coffee instead of his usual elaborate drink. He saw me, froze. I could have walked away. Part of me wanted to. But I walked over. Hey, Derek. Emily. He couldn't meet my eyes. I heard about your company. The acquisition. Congratulations. Thank you. I'm sorry. About the money. About what I said. About all of it. I believed him. Failure has a way of teaching humility that success never does. I know. Does that mean we can? No. I said it gently. You made a choice, Derek. You decided I wasn't worth your respect. That my suffering mattered less than your image. That's not something an apology erases. I was young. Stupid. Selfish. You were. And I was disabled, poor, and dismissed. But I wasn't any of those things because I was less than you. I was those things because of circumstances. You were selfish because of character. We both built our futures from there. Mine just turned out better. I left him standing there, coffee in hand, understanding finally settling on his face. I wasn't trying to build a company worth hundreds of millions. I was just trying to survive. To prove Derek wrong about my future. To pay my medical bills and rebuild my life. But somewhere along the way I'd proven something more important. That being underestimated is only permanent if you believe it. That family who steals from you isn't family anymore. That success built on your own strength is worth more than anything handed down or stolen. My brother took my $200,000 and built a 3-year marriage that ended in divorce court and financial ruin. I took nothing but my own determination and built an empire worth $231 million. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just living well enough that the people who dismissed you finally understand what they lost when they chose to push you away. Derek lost a sister who would have been worth knowing. I lost dead weight I didn't need. 3 years after that Starbucks encounter, I'm the keynote speaker at a medical technology conference. My topic, Building Innovation from Adversity. The room is packed with researchers, executives, investors. And in my speech I tell them about the accident. The settlement. The theft. The startup built from nothing. I don't mention names. I don't need to. Because this story was never really about Derek taking my money. It was about me taking my life back. And that's a story worth $231 million and counting.